Well, I just got off of Highway 64 and getting on to Natchez Trace Parkway. So this is a little bit of a back road for me, but it's worth it. It's a beautiful ride on Natchez Trace, and maybe I'll get some pictures here shortly. This is the Buffalo River, the bridge actually going over it. I've decided to park in the shade and take a minute. An example of one of the reasons why I like to motorcycle so much, but I have to actually keep myself from just hurrying home. Hey everyone, well, I'm at Shiloh Military National Park today, and I'm trying to gain some perspective. I've always had an interest in history and Civil War battlefields and such, but the pages of history only can do so much, but to visit the actual locations is so much more interesting, fascinating, and humbling, really. Well, I'm at Pittsburg Landing, and what I'm showing to you now is actually noted by the U.S. forces that were here. The gunboats were out here, and on March 1862 were fired upon by the batteries that were located right up on this bluff by the Louisiana Regiment. I've forgotten the commander's name. The gunboats fired and actually had some limited success and actually made their way up to a log cabin. They were beaten back by the Confederates and retreated to their boats, only to come back at a later time. But this is Pittsburg Landing, and the first shots were fired of what at the time would be the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. You get a much better idea of just how thick these woods might have been in 1862. There's so much bramble and bush that the soldiers were working backward and forward on, attacking and retreating in these woods, but it really is very thick even today. So I can imagine just what it might have looked like to have bullets whizzing through. It staggers the imagination, really. And to stand in the wake of that fire. This is what, of course, I have learned about, and most of us read about, the hornet's nest. And there is quite a bit written about it here, but the vastness of the space is not easily understood by most. The thicket is better understood when you come here. Really amazing. But what better way to do it than ride a bike? I can stop every 100 yards if I want to. I'm walking now on the sunken road here at Shiloh Military National Park. It seems there's always a sunken road, isn't there, in the Civil War battlefields. What I've learned here is that it's a much more vast battle than I really imagined and understood from the history pages. There's just, I take pictures and I'm trying to understand how everything happened here, and the pages of history just really can't come to life. So much happened here. So many lives were ended or changed forever here. And it's the bigness of it that amazes me. But there's no real quick explanation of it. I've read about the Hornet's Nest in Shiloh, Pittsburg Landing, and I didn't consider myself ignorant until I actually came here and began looking around and realizing how little I actually knew. And that's the shame of it all. These are some of the many tombstones, grave markers that are left from the battles of Shiloh and Corinth. They don't look a whole lot different from those of many other battles and U.S. military sites, but many of these marked are unknown. How sad. It really is a humbling experience to think about what these young men went through that day, defending and attacking these positions on both sides. Just young men caught up in war that they didn't create. About to leave Shiloh National Park, the battlefield of course, and I would recommend any of you, whether by motorcycle or by other means, to come out and take a visit. But do plan to spend more than just a few hours if you can. There's a lot to see here, and if you really want to understand it, several days is at least necessary here. But it's been a great journey. I've only been able to put half of a day in, so I really can't say everything that happened here. I'll have to go back to the pages of history, but now better understanding what it looked like. Now I have about a half day's ride ahead of me, and I'm hoping for a safe return.